voice can break the dark. A single spark ignites the heart. But if we turn when justice calls, the chains we forge will bind us all. When truth is silenced, when lies take hold, the cost is freedom, the soul grows cold. No one stands tall while another must fall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, defending every voice, defending every right. For the moment we falter, the moment we stall, we lose our own freedom when we let others fall. You can't stand free while others kneel. When justice fades, it's freedom they steal. An innocent condemned, a crime unspoken, and with it the bond of liberty is broken. No tyrant rules without our consent. Oppression thrives where silence is spent. Stand for the weak, the silence is small, or freedom will crumble for us all. We're mavericks of freedom, guardians of the light, fighting for the truth, for what is just and right. For the rights of one are the rights of all. We rise or we fall by answering the call. Even those we may oppose deserve the rights we all uphold. For if we deny them what is fair, we build our own prison in despair. The fight's not easy, it never will be, but justice for one is the key to be free. We stand as mavericks, together we strive, defending the rights that keep freedom alive. We're mavericks of freedom, rebels in the fight, upholding every truth, protecting every right. When one is oppressed, we're all in the thrall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for all. So take a stand, let your courage rise. Defend the truth, don't compromise. For the soul of the world, the writing's on the wall. Freedom for one depends on freedom for
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everybody. We have dueling political rallies tonight. One for Prime Minister Mark Carney, Liberal, and Pierre Poilievre, Conservative. Where are they? So we have Carney is in Laval, Quebec, and Pierre Poilievre is in Vaughan, Ontario. And we are monitoring things here, and we'll dip into these as we're able to tonight. So they're both just about to get underway, I think, and we're trying to bring a little bit of both. So Anna Poilievre going to be up on stage introducing him, her husband, and we'll see how Mark Carney comes on stage tonight as well. Not on the podium yet, but we'll keep track of that. Also, media wars. We're going to go to the phones and open the phone lines so that you guys can weigh in on this conversation about new media both in Canada and the US. Things are sure a lot different, and it's become something of a Wild West online, raising a lot of different questions, but funding, ethics, law. What's rigged, what isn't? How do you rig an election? I would say you can do that through the information space. And Pierre Poilievre today also released his costed election platform, so we'll get you information on that and a whole lot more when we return after this.
Greetings, brave mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so let's go right now to Vaughan, Ontario, and pick up the our coverage, our live stream pool feed coming in now. And here's Pierre Poilievre's wife on stage introducing her husband, possibly the next prime minister. We'll see how the vote goes on the 28th. Gonna need some audio with that.
And while I love all of my husband's policies and truly believe that it's going to help all of us, it is important to understand the why. It's important to understand the men behind those policies. My husband, he was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to two school teachers from Saskatchewan. They worked really hard and they lived paycheck to paycheck. Pierre worked for everything in his life and nothing was handed to him. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. Muchos latinos aquí presentes esta noche. Es un orgullo de poder representar y ser una voz fuerte para la gente latina. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family immigrated here in 1995 when I was 8 years old. My father is here tonight. When my family arrived, my dad had to trade his business suits to go and work and pick up fruits and vegetables because that's all he could do to feed our family. He taught me that there's no greater dignity than to provide for your own family, and all work is dignifying. Thank you, Dad. So, by the time that I was 17, I had moved out of home and become financially independent, 100%. By the time that I was 19, I left Montreal, moved to Ottawa, took a student loan, put myself to university, and had a full-time job at the same time so that I could pay for rent and food all by myself. By the time that I was 25, a few months before I met my husband, I was working in the Senate, and I had saved enough money to put a down payment on a little townhouse in the east end of Ottawa, all under my dad's advice. Thank you. So that little townhouse, it was $230,000 in 2012, 3 years before the Liberal government took office. That was the Canadian promise. And that is what my husband is fighting for, to restore the Canadian promise so that we can afford homes, we can afford a future on safe streets. So ladies and gentlemen, this is who we are, the Poilievres. We are one of you, you are one of us. We're all fighting in this to restore the Canadian promise, and we need all of you fighting along our side. And that is why it is my pleasure to share with you my husband, the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Yeah, I'm going to pull the audio down because they always play that music, and then we get a copyright strike, which we don't want on the channel because YouTube gives us enough grief already. But we love you, YouTube, because you do deliver audience. And speaking of audience, we will be talking about new media. I see that they're running, what do they call it, a local row media conference at across the street from the White House this week. I think it's some sort of a conference for local area media. And then they're also, will also highlight what they did today with their ongoing efforts to bring in more independent streamers, but I wouldn't call them journalists necessarily. And they did introduce a new guy today who you're all probably familiar with, Tim Pool, but they didn't introduce him as a journalist. They called him a commentator, I believe. Nevertheless, he got a seat in the press room and was allowed to ask the first question today. So the media landscape changing, and we're also going to take a look at what's going on with new media and its impact on what we're watching right here, this election in Canada. And the strategies are certainly changing for political parties, the way they deliver their messaging, the way they handle their advertising campaigns. And let's open the audio back up here now.
Thank you, Bob.
Here we go.
Who's voting for a change in Canada? Who's voting to axe the taxes? Who's voting for homes you can actually afford? Who's voting to stop the crime for a change? And who's voting to bring home the Canadian promise? Thank you very much, Vaughn. Great to be here today in the LiUNA. Thank you very headquarters of LiUNA. A great, are there any laborers here, hardworking people? You know, when I think of LiUNA, I learned of this union. I used to go over to my buddy's parents' place for dinner on Sunday night. They're old, classic Italian family. Yeah. There aren't any Italians in Vaughan, are there? One or two. And anyway, the grandfather would sit at the head of the table. His name was Albino, and he couldn't speak any English. He and his wife had come from Italy in 1973, from Calabria. Calabrese? Okay, that's half the room is Calabrese, I think. And he had this plaque on the wall. It said LiUNA. And the only time I ever heard him utter an English word is I pointed up at that and I said, "What is it?" And I didn't know at the time. This is about 20 years ago. And he said, "Pension." That was his pension. He got off the boat, 73, got a job, paving roads, and he earned himself a pension. But the house that they lived in was about 7 or 8 minutes from Parliament Hill in downtown Ottawa, a G7 capital. And they actually paid off their entire mortgage in 7 years. Can you imagine that? That was Canada. That was Canada back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s and even the 2000s. As Anna just told you the story about how she was able to afford a home independently, having a decent job, out of school, from a modest background. Now that family that I told you about, he's now as albino, God rest his soul, has moved on. And his granddaughters will graduate from university. They speak perfect English. They would not be able to make a down payment on that house, even if they worked non-stop for 15 years. In Toronto and the greater GTA today, it takes 29 years to save up for a down payment on a house for the average family. Everything costs more. Food prices have risen 37% faster under this Liberal government in Canada than they did in the United States in the same time period. After catch and release Liberal laws, crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder are overtaking our once safe streets. My friends, after a lost Liberal decade of rising costs and crime, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a change with a new Conservative government. And it turns out we have a plan for that change. It's called the Change Platform for an Affordable Life, for safe streets, for Canada First. This is the plan to bring change to Canadians. Now, it is a clear plan. A plan that will cut income tax by 15% so that your hard work pays off for a change. It's a plan to cut the Liberal deficit by 70% with less bureaucracy, less consultants, less foreign aid, less money wasted so that inflation comes down and your dollar retains power for a change. It is a plan to axe the sales tax on new homes and incentivize municipalities to cut their tax to bring down the cost of buying a house by $100,000, again, for a change. It's a plan to lock up criminals so that you're safe on your streets again, for a change. Après les décennies perdues des libéraux, des coûts qui augmentent, on ne peut pas s'offrir un quatrième mandat. Il faut que ça change. Avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui a un plan pour faire changement, un plan qui vise à rendre la vie abordable, un plan pour réduire le déficit libéral de 70% en éliminant la bureaucratie, les consultants, l'aide à l'étranger et d'autres gaspillages pour enfin baisser l'inflation. Un plan pour couper les impôts de 15%, pour abolir le TPS sur les maisons neuves pour que vous puissiez acheter une maison, et un plan pour mettre les criminels derrière des barreaux pour que les communautés canadiennes soient sécuritaires pour faire changement. C'est ça le plan pour faire changement. Now compare this. Oh, wait a second. Who's this? Who do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, my goodness. What a bright young lady we have. What is your name? Trinity. You want to come up on the stage? All right, come on up on the stage. There you go. Come on over here, Trinity. Wow. Can you come over here? Show everybody in the crowd what your sign says. Do you know what it says? Can you read that to everybody?
Axe the tax, fix the budget, stop the crime, bring it home.
What was that? Is this your little girl here?
Their future. We're here for their future.
That's why we're all here, isn't it? Is this your little girl?
She always wants you.
Amazing. Well, she's going to be here giving speeches on stages like this one day. I think we have a future prime minister here, don't we? Way to go, Trinity. You've made us all very proud. Yeah, thank you so much. What a brilliant young lady. What a future we have with young people like Trinity. Amazing. What an amazing group we have here of brilliant young people, the next generation, who are ready to already take direction, take the leadership position. So we better get... I love you too. God love you. Thank you. Now, well, we need you too, and that's why I need to ask a question. Has everybody voted yet? Excellent. It's a lot at stake. I told you a little bit about our plan for change. Did you hear about the platform that Justin Trudeau released on Saturday? Yeah. No, that wasn't a slip-up. That wasn't a slip-up. Oh no, that was not a slip-up. We found out that Mark Carney's platform was actually written by the Liberal Party for Justin Trudeau before he decided to resign suddenly. And it was just carried over. And then when Mr. Carney became leader, they handed him the platform. They said, okay, this looks good. Control F, replace Trudeau with Carney. And away we go. Right? Now, it's not entirely fair. I don't want to be entirely fair. Unfair to the Liberals here. In fact, it's not that Carney's election platform is as bad as Trudeau's, in fairness. It's worse. Carney is proposing in this platform to add $130 billion of additional spending above and beyond the roughly $110 billion in debt that Trudeau had already budgeted for. So when you add the Trudeau and Carney plans together, because they stack one on top of the other, a fourth Liberal term would mean $250 billion of extra inflationary debt, which would drive up food prices, home prices, and the cost of living. It would threaten our economy, and weaken our people, and make us even more vulnerable to the Americans at this time. My friends, after a lost Liberal decade, we cannot afford a fourth Liberal term. We need a change. And if you have any doubt about how bad things are about to get under the Liberals, you don't have to take my word for it. You only have to ask the department in the government that reports directly to Mark Carney. It's called the Privy Council Department. It's literally the department responsible to the Prime Minister. And quietly, they published a report about what life is going to look like in Canada in 15 years, in the year 2040. And this is what it says, and I'm quoting here. In 2040, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes that they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. And many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. Then it goes on to talk about housing. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key social, economic, and political driver of conflict. Education. It says in 2040, pursuing post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Fewer people choose post-secondary because they see it less as a path to a successful career than a way to reinforce their membership in a so-called elite. That's their words. They say people lose faith in the Canadian project. They say that some of our people will be leaving because it's too difficult to stay in Canada. Again, this is Mark Carney's own government department projecting 15 years hence. It says that many may emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility and higher standards of living are easier to obtain. If workers leave Canada, it may mean it's harder for us to pay for our older population. And finally, the most terrifying warning of all, and again, this comes out of a government report, It's not some sort of an interest group or a shock journalist. It says that food prices may get so expensive, and I'm quoting here, people may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways. This is what the Liberal government says Canada is going to look like in 15 years. So, is this the Canada you grew up with? Do you think that Canadians should just sit back and take this depressing future, or do you think it's time to have some hope for a change and take back a bright future for our kids and our country? I agree with you. It doesn't have to be this way. We have a plan for change. We can turn this thing around. We know the basic values of Canada, hard work, entrepreneurship, living within our means, supporting the less fortunate, protecting our borders, holding criminals accountable. These basic values that built our country over so many generations, the values that guided our parents and grandparents as they built this country, those values are what created the Canadian promise in the first place, that gave everybody the chance to arrive where we are today, that allowed me to stand on this stage starting from humble beginnings. And we're going to use those same Canadian values to rebuild our future. And we believe, everyone in this room believes, in a brighter future for all of us. We know that change is never easy, but making the right decisions can make it worthwhile. And that's why we presented this platform today, because we have hope for this country, and we're ready to bring that hope right across Canada. Absolutely. We're going to bring it home. But in order to have a bright future, we need to have sound, solid money. Inflation has raged out of control ever since Mr. Carney became Trudeau's economic advisor, precisely because the government is spending too much. Today, I laid out a detailed plan about how we're going to fix our budget to stop the inflation that is eroding your purchasing power for food and housing. What we're going to do to start with is cut the waste. I announced that we're going to streamline the bureaucracy through attrition. Every time 3 people retire, we're only going to hire 2 back. Over time, we'll reduce the size of the bureaucracy, which reduces the tax bill for the people paying for it. Then there are the consultants. We're spending $20 billion a year on consultants. That works out to $1,400 in taxes for every Canadian family just to fund consultants. But don't worry, the Liberals know there's a problem with it. They said we're going to spend less money on consultants, but to come up with a plan to do that, they hired some consultants. We've got a better idea. Our Conservative plan for change will cut the budget for consulting by $10 billion annually. We'll bring our money home to Canada. The Liberals increasingly send our money abroad. They gave money to the Asian Infrastructure Bank to fund pipelines and roadways in China and across Asia that we can't even get built here in Canada. They gave money to the UN agency that helped Hamas carry out the attacks of October 2nd. We will save money for Canadians, $3 billion annually, by cutting back foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracy. For a change. Bring it home. We're going to bring in a law that requires politicians. Yes, we're going to bring the money home. Bring your money. The money that's gone abroad is going to be coming back home to this country. And we're also going to pass a common sense law, dollar for dollar. Every time the government brings in a new dollar of spending, by law, it will be required to find a dollar of savings. This will force politicians and bureaucrats to make the same trade-offs that you make every single day. This or that. or get a bargain on this and that. Come in under the budget. You can't just print the money, tax the money, or borrow the money. You've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for government to start pinching its pennies too. And you know, there is a better way to generate additional revenue for our cherished social programs than raising taxes. And it's by growing the economy for a change, right? We need to grow it. We need to grow it. We've got our great trade union leaders here today. When they need, you know how they grow themselves? They go out and they add new members by helping create more jobs, right? That's how you guys make everybody better off. Now, we need to do the same thing in Canada. Our economy has been shrinking in per capita terms. It's had the worst economic growth of any G7 country since Carney became Trudeau's economic advisor. But we can unlock more growth. Instead of creating more cash, we're going to create more of what cash buys, grow more food, build more homes, and produce more of our great Canadian resources. That's how we generate the wealth that will fund a prosperous future for us all. It starts by removing the anti-development laws. We will repeal the anti-pipeline law C-69 for a change. We will end the tanker ban. We will get rid of the energy cap. We'll bring in shovel-ready zones, areas that are pre-permitted for construction, so that any business that wants to build something can go online, see a pre-published, legally binding permit that says where they can build it and what they have to do to comply. So there's no 17-year-long wait to get a shovel in the ground on a mine. You get busy, you get building, and you start hiring these workers and giving them powerful paychecks to do it. We need to approve LNG liquefaction plants. We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that we could be selling to the Asians so that they can break their dependence on coal, sell it to the Europeans so that they break their dependence on Putin, and we turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people in Canada for a change. We're going to go from having the second slowest building permits in the OECD to the fastest building permits. We'll cut 25% of red tape in the government, 25% fewer rules and regulations, and we're going to assign the Auditor General to keep count to make sure the red tape doesn't keep creeping back. Well, we also have to cut taxes on growth. Our plan will cut taxes on energy. For example, we know the Liberals still have the carbon tax in law. If Mark Carney really wanted to get rid of the tax, he would have passed a law to do it. Instead, just 28 days before the election, they hid it from the gas pump to make you forget so that they could trick you into voting them back in for a fourth term, after which they would surely bring the tax back higher than ever. They have a tax, the tax on Canadian steel, which will drive not just steel, but all Canadian industry that Mark Carney says he wants to raise. That will drive our jobs and our money south of the border. It's funny, another thing that Carney and Trump share in common. Both of them want to tax Canadian industry. Trump with tariffs, Carney with carbon taxes. I want neither. I will axe the entire tax for everyone, for real, for a change. And then we need to bring back the investment. Investment is drying up and fleeing out of our country. In fact, you know, in Canada today, the average worker, if you take all the business investment, you divide it by the total number of workers in Canada, it works out to $15,000 a year. In the U.S., it's $28,000. So the American worker is getting twice as much tools, technology, machines, and factories. The stuff, the physical assets that produce things. That's why the American worker is making more money, even though the Canadian worker is by every measure a superior worker, a better worker, a smarter worker. He's not making as much money, Because our businesses are starved of investment. Why would that be? Well, when you raise taxes on investment, you punish people and entrepreneurs. What do? Well, capital goes where capital grows, and it doesn't grow here anymore. That's why we're going to change it. We're going to bring real change. We will pass the Canada First Reinvestment Tax Cut. Zero capital gains tax when you reinvest the money back in Canada. Bring it home. Bring it home. We're going to bring it home for a change. But you know what you need to bring it home? You need to vote, that's for sure. A good reminder. But you need to have a home, right? And right now, thank you very much. Prime Minister, minister means servant. Prime Minister means first servant. It would be my honor to serve every single one of you in this room. That's actually the big philosophical difference here. The big philosophical difference between myself and Mr. Carney. He thinks he's the boss. He thinks he's here to run your life. He thinks he knows better than the rest of you. He knows he thinks he knows how to spend your money better than you do. He thinks he knows what kind of car you should drive. He wants to ban you from driving a gas-powered vehicle. They want to, his housing plan is to have everybody live in a government-owned, prefabricated, manufactured, tiny house with no driveway, by the way. He believes that he should control your money, your direction, and everything. I believe precisely the opposite. I'm not running for office to take power. I'm running for office to give it back to all of you for a change. But you need to have a home. And I believe in the dream of home ownership, something you won't even find in the Liberal platform. They never talk about home ownership. You want to own a house back there? Anybody want to own a house for a change? They want to own a house. We used to take that for granted in Canada. Yeah, we got some young people back there. Like to start a family, maybe? You know, that was the Canadian dream, the Canadian promise that you could enjoy home ownership. But housing costs have actually risen faster in Canada than any other G7 country. In fact, they've outpaced incomes more in Canada than in all but one OECD country during the lost Liberal decade. Mr. Carney proposes exactly the same policies as Justin Trudeau. More government programs, government bureaucracy that cost tens of billions of dollars, but don't actually get anything built. He even brought back Justin Trudeau's failed housing minister. How can you imagine, after they doubled housing costs, Carney's plan now is to repeat the same policies with the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal platform. We need a change. Our approach is to tackle the real problem. Now, why are houses so expensive in Canada? The answer is taxes and bureaucracy. In Ontario today, 30% of the cost of a new home is just direct taxes. And that, what's that? Yeah, that's true. That's also very expensive. We'll come to that in a moment. Everything is expensive in Canada, but we're going to stick on houses for a second. In addition to the direct taxes on houses, there's the indirect bureaucracy. We have the second slowest building permits in the OECD. More money for a new home goes to bureaucrats in offices than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the homes. Only Conservatives will change it. Our plan is to cut the bureaucracy and the red tape, axe the taxes, and build the homes. And we will lead the way by axing the federal sales tax on new homes to save you $65,000. For a change. Now, then this is an area where I will give credit to the city of Vaughan. the municipality here has actually cut construction taxes by 50%. We need to see more of that. I'm very hard on the mayors. I'm very hard on the mayors when they raise taxes in block homes, but we got to give credit where it's due. They cut it here, and I give them credit. But not only that, I will incentivize municipalities here and everywhere to do the same. I will agree to pay half the cost to cut the development taxes across the country with a goal of bringing down the taxes by $100,000 a home. We will incentivize municipalities, requiring them to speed up permits to build 15% more homes per year. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build another 300,000 homes on what is now largely dormant and underused federal land spaces. As I said, we'll cut taxes on reinvesting in home building, but you also need the builders, the people who swing the hammers and frame the homes and lay down the foundation, the people who make up the great building trades unions we have here. And so we're going to back up the trades. Our plan will fund 350,000 union training spots right across this country to train up the carpenters, the welders, the electricians, and countless other people who will literally build the country. Boots, not suits. And, you know, not only that, we're going to bring in tax fairness. We'll allow our trades workers to write off the full cost of their food, transportation, and accommodation to go from one job site to another. We'll bring back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant. And I will be sending a are you a father of a future tradesman, or you're a tradesman? Excellent. You agree with what I have to say on that? What's your trade? High-rise construction. Wow. Don't look down, eh? Impressive. Takes a lot of courage. There's a job where you can't get something wrong, eh? Thank you for building the country. You know, I'm going to be sending, I wonder what you think of this idea. I'm going to send a gift to every high school principal in the country. I know. Education is provincial. There's nothing in the Constitution that says you can't send a present from the Prime Minister's office to the principal's office, right? It's going to be a big box about the size of this stage, and in it, there's going to be a module for every single licensed trade so that they can begin doing pre-apprenticeships with our young people as early as age 14. It's about boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. But we want these brilliant tradespeople to bring, what's that? Yes, tool making and everything else, shop class. I can't control that. Part's out of my reach. That's provincial. All the constitutional scholars are going to be yelling at me. But I can send the gift, and we will back the trades, and we will make sure that any young person in this country that wants to get into the trades will be encouraged to do so, and we will tell them that the best jobs in the future are going to be in the trades. Boots, not suits. But we also want them to bring those paychecks home to safe neighborhoods so that we're going to stop the crime for a change. Everywhere I go, jail not bail, everywhere I go, I meet people who are increasingly violated by repeat offenders, released again and again and again. It doesn't seem like they can be locked up for any reason whatsoever. It doesn't matter how much crime they do. The laws will not let them keep them behind bars. There will be jail, not bail. To start with, that's C-75, the Liberal Catch and Release Law, which it requires the judge, and I'm quoting from the law right now. It says, the judge must release the accused at, quote, the earliest opportunity under, quote, the least onerous conditions. In other words, they have to go right back out on the street, oftentimes before paperwork is even filled out on their most recent arrest. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. Again and again, they go out. If they had kept those 40 offenders in prison, there'd be 6,000 people attacked, violated, hit over the head with a baseball bat. Then there's C5, the Liberal law that allows repeat offenders to do their sentences in the comfort of their living rooms, watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto, preparing to do it all over again. My friends, we will repeal the Liberal catch and release law. No more house arrest. We will pass a 3 strikes you're out law. Very simple. 3 serious offenses. You have no chance for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. You're going in for 10 years and you won't get out till you behave well, pass drug tests, and learn an employable skill. We're going to stop the crime for a change. And we're going to also tackle the drugs. The drug crisis has been raging out of control in Canada. We have lost 50,000 people to drug overdoses. We are going to save our youth together. We're going to protect them against this terrible poison, a poison that is 100 times more powerful than heroin. It is only 2 milligrams that it takes to stop someone's lungs from operating. And what we have, there you go. What was that, young lady? I know. This is the life that we have today, but I'm here to tell you to have hope, because we're going to turn this thing around. We're going to turn this thing around. We hear these stories every day. The fentanyl in the lower mainland of BC, the parents actually have to walk up and down the soccer pitch in a line to make sure there are no needles or crack pipes before the kids go and play soccer. They can't walk their dogs in a park anymore because the dog might breathe in some of the drug residues that's been left behind. These are almost unimaginable. But we know how to we know why the problem exists. The government has liberalized drugs. They're giving out tax-funded opioids. They've reduced penalties for fentanyl dealers. They've allowed 99% of shipping containers to enter our country without any inspection whatsoever, and they want to continue doing it. Mark Carney will carry on exactly the same soft on crime, easy on drugs policy as Justin Trudeau if he's re-elected. But it doesn't have to be this way. Our plan is to treat the mass fentanyl producers and traffickers like the murderers that they are. They will get life sentences. They will never get out of jail. But we're not finished yet. We have even more hope. We're going to secure the borders, providing scanners. 2,000 more frontline CBSA officers, watchtowers that will interrupt the guns, drugs, and stolen cars. And we know that the way that we turn this around is by giving people who are addicted to drugs a chance to cleanse their bodies and restart their lives. Treatment and recovery works. I have seen countless examples of people who have been down and out on the street, on the edge of death, get into treatment, suffer through the difficult period of withdrawal, enjoy counseling, group therapy, physical exercise, yoga, job preparation, housing, back on their feet to take responsibility for their lives. We will fund 50,000 treatment facilities so that we can bring our loved ones home drug-free. And my message when I was in Moncton at the Harvest House Treatment Center to the young men who were there, they said to me, "Thank you for your help." And I said, no, I'm not the one offering the help. I'm here asking for help. I'm here to ask you for a favor. I need you. I need you to get better, because you're going to go back out onto the street corner. You're going to grab the next guy. You're going to bring him in here, and he's going to get better. And then he's going to go back out and save another person. And we're going to defeat this crisis and bring our loved ones home drug-free. That's the hopeful message we have. We will stop the guns by locking up gun smugglers for life. We will do the same for large-scale human traffickers. And by the way, we will pay for the additional border security that we intend to fund by canceling the wasteful, multi-billion-dollar liberal gun grab that targets law-abiding hunters and sport shooters. Make no mistake, if you are a hunter, liberal, we got some hunters here? There we go. There you go. There you go. You know, their report says that you're going to have to hunt for food because groceries are getting so expensive, but then they want to take your hunting rifle away. You can't win with these guys. There's no doubt about it, though. Make the message go far and wide. If the Liberals are reelected, they will ban your hunting rifle. They have said that that is their plan. My friends, this is ridiculous. Spending police resources and billions of dollars going after Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle will solve nothing. I want to protect Canadians from criminals. The Liberals want to protect turkeys from hunters. You decide who's got it right. But to protect our country, we need a strong military, and we will rebuild the Canadian Armed Forces. Absolutely. That's right. We will bring our money home from useless funding of useless foreign bureaucracies. We'll cut back office administration and procurement boondoggles and put the money into frontline equipment for our brave men and women in uniform. We will buy 4 massive Arctic icebreakers, Poseidon surveillance aircraft. We will add new landing strips in the north. We will fill the recruitment for all the vacant spaces in the Army, Air Force, and Navy. We will build the first Arctic base since the Cold War, CFB, Iqaluit. And as always, our military will be guided by a warrior culture, not a woke culture. We will repair the broken liberal immigration system. The Liberals have ruined immigration by allowing mass fraud and fakery in the international student and temporary foreign worker program. They've also allowed for fraud in the refugee program. They've allowed population, not allowed, they've provoked a population growth that is 3 times the rate as our growth in the housing stock, leading to shortages in not only housing but healthcare and in jobs. This all because they believed in this crazy idea they call the Century Initiative, to bring our population up to 100 million people. This is crazy. We cannot afford, the truth is, my friends, we cannot afford a 4th Liberal term of out-of-control spending, taxes, and other schemes that have priced Canadians out of the market. We will fix not only the budget, but we will fix the immigration system by ending the fraud, bringing people in only in numbers that we can house, employ, and care for. And when newcomers arrive, they will find this a welcoming land filled with opportunity. We have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work because they do not have licenses. We will do in the professions, what we've been doing in the trades for the last 73 years. We'll bring in a national license for the provinces to opt into, so called the Blue Seal, so that our immigrant doctors and nurses can take a test, prove they're qualified, get to work serving patients and earning powerful paychecks in our community. We're going to unite our people again. We're going to reunite the people and trust the people. Allow people to make decisions for their own lives, move forward with growing confidence, safe in their communities, ready to build a brighter future, optimistic, eyes looking upward. This will once again be a nation where people are united around a promise. That really is what Canada is all about. You know, you can't define this country by ethnicity or a particular religion or background. We define ourselves by the shared promise that brought all of us here, whether it's been for 6 months or 6 generations or 6,000 years as an Indigenous Canadian. All of us are here for a promise, a very simple promise. It's better, actually way better than the American dream. They have a dream, but you wake up from a dream. A promise is like a contract. It's a deal. You do this, you get that. And the deal was this: you work hard, you can do anything you want. If you're a smart kid who likes science and you're 7 years old living in a poor community, you can look up and say, maybe I'm the guy that's going to solve, I'm the guy who's going to cure cancer. Or maybe your dream is to just open up an auto shop where you have 10 employees, you fix things and you master the science and the art of mechanics. Or maybe your dream is to have a nice house with 4 rooms and 2.5 kids, 1 dog and half a cat. Whatever you want to do in this country, if you work for it, you can achieve it. That's what my parents taught me. That's what I believe in. That's what this country gave me. That's what I want for everybody else. The Canadian promise unites us around that common goal. You know, we are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of bureaucrats and busybodies, of gatekeepers and grandees, of rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, of artists and adventurers, of workers and warriors, of pioneers and patriots. Together, we will bring home the country that we knew and love, a country that protects its vulnerable, secures its borders, rewards its workers, unleashes its entrepreneurs, honors its history, upholds its traditions, rebuilds its military, and flies its flag. Together, we will rebuild the promise of Canada so that anyone who works hard gets a beautiful house in a safe neighborhood under our proud flag. Canada first, Canada always. Let's bring it home.
Okay, we're going to bring that audio down. So a little bit of new stuff in that speech because he did deliver his platform today. And Mark Carney at his rally in Laval, Quebec. We're going to go live there because he's taking to the stage. Let's just get this. Here we go. All right, we got music playing there too. Okay, let's switch over from the Conservative rally to the Carney rally. Here we go.
Ah ouais. Bonsoir tout le monde. Bonsoir Vimy, bonsoir Laval, bonsoir Montréal, bonsoir Québec, bonsoir Canada. Wow. Ouh. Ah oui. On va commencer. Alors, merci Annie. Et merci à tous nos exceptionnels candidats du Québec qui sont ici ce soir. Et merci beaucoup de Mark Miller qui m'a donné. Alors, et merci à vous tous d'être ici ce soir. Merci pour tout ce que vous faites chaque jour, chaque nuit pour bâtir un Canada fort. C'est incroyable. Alors, on va commencer avec une question. Qui est prêt? Qui est prêt de se tenir debout pour le Canada? Et qui est prêt? Ah, je suis là. J'étais plus jeune il y a quelques semaines. Qui est prêt? Qui est prêt à se battre pour gagner l'élection la plus importante de nos vies? Alors, c'est bel et bien une élection des plus cruciales, parce qu'il faut le dire que le président Trump a bouleversé l'économie mondiale et il a trahi le Canada, l'allié le plus fidèle des États-Unis. Et les relations que nous avions avec les États-Unis sont terminées maintenant. C'est une tragédie, mais c'est la nouvelle réalité. Mais nous répondons avec de la force et de la détermination. Oui, c'est ça. Nous nous battons contre ces tarifs injustes avec des contre-tarifs qui auront un impact maximal aux États-Unis et un impact minimal ici au Canada. Nous protégeons nos travailleurs, nos entreprises en utilisant chaque dollar tiré de nos contre-tarifs pour le faire. Et par-dessous tout, nous bâtissons un Canada fort. Pour y arriver. Pour y arriver, il faudra faire de grands changements et je suis prêt. Je suis prêt. Je suis un pragmatiste, pas un politicien de carrière. Et quand les choses ne fonctionnent pas, je les change. Et c'est ce que j'ai fait. C'est ce que j'ai fait dès que je suis devenu Premier ministre. Les maisons sont devenues trop chères. Alors nous enlevons la TPS-EL et annonçons notre plan pour construire 500 000 logements par année en utilisant des technologies canadiennes, des travailleurs canadiens et de bois d'œuvre canadiens. L'augmentation de l'impôt sur le gain en capital. Freine, c'est ça. Et alors, nous avons annulé ce taxe-là. Nous avons élargi l'accès au régime canadien de soins dentaires pour que 5 millions de Canadiens de plus en bénéficient. Et nous avons renforcé nos relations commerciales avec l'Union européenne pour que nos exportateurs, nos amis en Europe, pour que nos exportateurs soient moins dépendants aux États-Unis. Bonne idée, c'est une bonne idée ça. Nous avons conclu une entente importante avec l'Australie et renforcé notre coopération militaire avec la France et le Royaume-Uni. À la fin de ma première semaine comme Premier ministre, j'ai rassemblé tous les premiers ministres des provinces et territoires et nous avons décidé d'enlever les obstacles qui freinent le commerce et la mobilité de la main-d'œuvre à travers notre pays. Mon gouvernement va faire sa part pour créer un vrai libre marché à travers le pays d'ici la fête du Canada. Free Trade by Canada Day. Parce qu'il nous faut une seule économie canadienne, pas 13. Alors, ensemble, en 9 jours, nous avons accompli plus que ce que Pierre Poilievre aurait pu imaginer plus de 2 décennies à la Chambre des communs.
A lot of French in this speech,
S'il
no doubt because
avait
he's in
de
Quebec.
l'imagination et qui ne faisait pas seulement imiter Donald Trump. Ça, c'est vrai. Alors, imaginez-vous tout ce que nous pourrions accomplir ensemble dans les années à venir. Tout est possible. Mais pour cela, nous avons besoin d'un gouvernement fort, positif et audacieux. Oui. Oui, absolument. C'est nécessaire. C'est essentiel parce que le président Trump essayait de nous briser afin de nous posséder. Ça, c'est l'objectif américain. Et ça n'arrivera jamais. Jamais. Ouais. Jamais. Nous nous sommes remis du choc de la trahison, mais nous devons en tirer des leçons. Nous devons prendre soin de nous-mêmes. Ouais. Et nous devons veiller les uns sur les autres. Cette bataille, nous ne l'avons pas cherchée. Mais les Canadiens sont toujours prêts. Les Canadiens sont toujours prêts à se battre quand les gants tombent. En guerre commerciale comme au hockey, quand nous nous battons, nous gagnons. C'est vrai. Merci. Alors. Le hockey a forgé la personne que je suis. J'ai grandi avec les valeurs que j'ai apprises à la maison, à l'école et à l'aréna. Mes parents étaient enseignants.
I'm sorry. I'm waiting for the English folks, and it just, I have to just let it go the way it's going. We'll dip out of this soon, though.
Mes coachs, mes entraîneurs, eux, m'ont enseigné à ne pas me laisser faire, à être ambitieux tout étant homme. C'est le Canada. Ces valeurs, les Québécois les connaissent très bien. Et je me suis appuyé sur ces valeurs quand j'ai géré des crises au Canada et à l'étranger. Et aujourd'hui, pour faire face au président Trump et bâtir une économie renouvelée où tout peut réussir. Ce sont. Et c'est bon? Ce sont des choses que Pierre Poilievre ne comprend jamais. Jamais. Ouais. Des gens comme lui.
Well, he is in Quebec,
J'en ai
so it's just a lot of
rencontré
French.
partout dans le monde.
We'll give it a little bit more and see if
Ils
he
sont des
gives us the English,
politiciens de
but
carrière qui admirent
I
le
just don't
libre
know.
marché, mais qui n'ont jamais
Okay,
travaillé
I
au
give
privé,
in.
qui n'ont
I won't tell you
jamais
who's telling me to
signé
say
une
this,
chèque de
but
paye. C'est le
somebody's
genre de
messaging me
politicien
saying that
qui
Mark
n'a
Carney looks
jamais
like
changé d'idée et retourne toujours à
Mr.
ses
Burns from The
réflexes.
Simpsons.
Couper, détruire et diviser. Ça, c'est Poilievre.
And this person is
Nous
also saying
avons-
that if you look in the
nous
back,
avons maintenant, dans cette
there's
crise,
a
nous avons
gentleman
besoin
in
de
a
solutions,
blue blazer and a white
pas de
shirt,
slogans.
just to the left.
Nous avons besoin de calme, pas de
And
chaos,
she's saying that he looks
de
like Bart.
courage, pas de colère.
I'm pretty sure that that's Anthony Howe's father, member of
que-
Parliament.
Oui. Parce que
Yeah.
Parce que la négativité ne va pas nous permettre de gagner une guerre commerciale.
If he gets reelected, no, I won't be able. If the other these guys get elected, I won't be able to look at them the same
La
ever again.
négativité ne va pas faire baisser le prix
That's
de
funny.
l'épicerie. Et la négativité ne va pas rendre le Canada fort. Jamais. Oui. Et oui. La vérité est que
All right, there's
la
not much sense in
négativité
sticking with
a
it
déjà
if he's just going to give a unilingual
les
only
Américains
French speech
et commence à
because he's in Quebec.
affaiblir les Américains.
This is when we
Et
need
si
Dragon
nous
to
sommes forts et unis, nous allons triompher.
give us a translation or somebody died
C'est notre force.
or subtitles. I
C'est
guess.
notre force que les Américains veulent. Nos ressources naturelles, notre eau, nos terres, notre pays. Jamais, jamais. Parce que jamais, jamais. Parce que c'est ça. Never. Parce que le Canada n'est pas les États-Unis. Aux États-Unis, la santé.
You want me to do
la
translation?
santé est
Since
une
my
commerce.
French is so bad,
Au Canada,
he says, "Oh
la
Canada,
santé, c'est un droit.
We don't like
C'est
Trump.
un droit.
and tariffs, we don't like them either."
Ouais.
And
Aux États-Unis, on
How
ne
dare you,
reconnaît
you
pas
orange
les
orangutan.
différences. On ne reconnaît pas
You-
les peuples autochtones et il n'y aura jamais de droit pour la langue française. Les États-Unis ne sont pas le Canada et le Canada n'en fera jamais partie, jamais.
no fair, you big American bully.
Alors,
Get out of here. Stop it.
so, what do we do? What do we do? You know, in a crisis, you have to prepare for the worst, not hope for the best. You have to distinguish between what you can change and what you can't. What you can change and what you can't. And after 78 years, I don't think we can change President Trump. So, what we need is a leader and a party that can stand up to him.
It's hard to teach an old orangutan new tricks.
That's right. That leader is not Pierre Poilievre. No. He draws his inspiration from President Trump. He copies his ideas. His
I
first
think he's
instinct,
you're copying
Poilievre's
his
first
ideas.
instinct when our nation was
Actually.
attacked was to call
Some of them.
Canada stupid. Call us stupid.
But it's true.
It was our fault.
It's all true. On
He
both
even
sides.
chooses, Pierre Poilievre even chooses to be willfully blind to the growing threats facing Canada by refusing, for some reason, to get his security clearance. What's he hiding? I don't know. 955 days and counting. I got mine in 3 weeks. Wasn't that hard? Wasn't that hard? Couple of forms, you had to tell the truth, that was it, it wasn't hard. Mais en somme, Pierre Poilievre, c'est la mauvaise personne au pire moment. Nous devons comprendre ce que nous pouvons et devons changer. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Nous pouvons contrôler notre destin économique. And we will control our destiny with the right plan. Because when you're in a crisis, plan beats no plan. And when you're in a crisis, you have to act with overwhelming force to overcome the anxieties that people feel, to break through the uncertainty that businesses face, and to replace what the crisis is taking away. And that's what our plan for Canada Strong will do. We start by making the government spend less of your tax dollars so that Canadians can invest more. We get government spending under control. That's just the foundation. But the core of our plan is to build, baby, build. We are going to build. We are going to build millions of more homes. We are going to build Canada into an energy superpower in clean and conventional energy. We are going to build hundreds of thousands of good careers in the skilled trades. We are going to build new industries. We are going to build new trade corridors with reliable partners in every corner of the world. Now, okay. Now, here's a surprise. Pierre Poilievre and Trump's allies here in Canada don't like our plan to stand up to President Trump. Yeah, Pierre Poilievre seems to think we should just go along to get along. That the way for Canada to get through this crisis is keep our heads down, give the Americans what they want, hope for the best. He seems to believe, he puts his elbows down, he seems to believe that the way to defend ourselves is to leave Quebecers and all Canadians to fend for themselves. Poilievre, it's now clear, he will cut what we value the most. Des coupeurs dans nos programmes qui rendent la vie plus abordable, comme les garderies, les soins dentaires et l'assurance médicaments. Pierre Poilievre va détruire Radio-Canada, une institution essentielle pour notre culture et pour la langue française.
He's talking about defunding CBC,
son dos au
I
projet de train
think.
à grande vitesse.
Dragon can
Et
correct me later.
Aujourd'hui, la journée de la Terre, il a dévoilé qu'il veut annuler toute initiative pour lutter contre les changements climatiques. Ce n'est pas comment on va rendre le Canada fort. Pas du tout. Alors, le choix devant nous est clair.
Okay, enough. And a couple of interesting things there. My assistant here, my boss, says wait a minute, he stole that Trump line, Carney. Instead of drill, baby, drill, he says build, baby, build. And there he's accusing Polyev of stealing from Trump, to finding inspiration from Trump. But there it is. He did say it. That's true, too. Yeah. You know what I picked up on there? I hadn't really clued in on the whole liberal strategy and rhetoric surrounding the security clearance with Polyev, but he's saying, what is Pierre hiding? And, I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, because Polyev has been saying, well, security clearance isn't a problem because I had it before when I was in the Harper government. But that was way back in like 2013. So it's no longer valid. That means he would have to reapply. So the implication here, what Carney seems to be suggesting, is this time around, Polyev might not pass, or maybe he doesn't want information to become public during the vetting process, like because of maybe foreign affiliations or financial ties that he doesn't want the public to be aware of right now. That's what he's implying. What does Carney know that we don't, or that I don't know? Or maybe it's just all smoke and mirrors. Maybe he's just saying that. I've been saying that is the so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the ace they have up their sleeves, these liberals, with regard to this campaign, because we've got all of this U.S. tension right now. I have been wondering about that. And just the way he said that, that registered with me for the first time in that way, because I never thought that Polyev might not pass. But now, oh, talk about a conspiracy theory. Who knows? We are seeing, though, that those U.S.-Canada tensions are real. And we're seeing these headlines. We no longer feel welcome nor safe. Canadian snowbirds cashing out of U.S. for good. Another story about Canadians leaving the U.S. The number of Canadian snowbirds planning to sell their second homes, it says here in sunny Florida and Arizona, has surged this spring. Many of them put off by the sudden chill that has blanketed relations between their homeland and the U.S. Real estate agents say they are seeing more Canadians cashing out, further softening property prices in warm weather states that have long attracted retirees and tourists from cold and snowy Canada. This is true. Canadians spent close to $6 billion on U.S. real estate from April 2023 to March 2024, making up 13% of all foreign transactions, more than any other nationality, according to data from the National Association of Realtors. Nearly half of the homes purchased by Canadians were for vacation purposes, with Florida, Arizona, and Hawaii ranking as the top markets. I could go on, but you understand. Florida hit particularly hard, as outlined in this article. And we're even seeing, if you don't believe it, if you think that's just like campaign MSM spin, no. It was actually a topic of discussion today at the White House. I'm saying this with a French accent because I am Canadian, and we're talking about Canada, Kazakhstan, in the US of A, being talked about in the White House. Here's Karoline Leavitt taking a question from the media. And my accent isn't even very good. I can't do a good French accent, and I certainly don't speak French very well, which I am very embarrassed to admit. But what do you expect from an Anglophone boy in Southern Ontario? Here's the exchange in the White House. And this goes on and gets into some other areas, too, that I do want to comment on tonight and highlight.
Sure. Setting the stage for a deal with Canada, what does that mean? Has the president spoken directly with Xi yet? I don't have anything to
First
read out
China,
on
then
the
I think we're going to
talk
get into
between, the president and President Xi, but we will continue to keep you
tourism
updated.
stuff.
And Secretary Bessent reportedly today told investors that this trade standoff with China he expects will be de-escalating soon because, as he described it, reportedly the situation is unsustainable. Is the president considering taking steps to de-escalate the situation with China?
Again, I just read you words directly from the President of the United States. Those are moments ago. That's where his head is at right now.
Yeah, it'll change in 10 minutes.
Karoline, I have two questions, one on immigration and one on China. First on immigration. Roughly how many illegal immigrants and aliens do we have in our country, and how many does the administration plan on deporting?
Sure. Well, you'd have to ask the Department of Homeland Security for a specific number, but we suspect it's definitely in the millions, perhaps upwards of 20 million people that were allowed into the country illegally by the previous administration. And the president and his team are focused on deporting as many as we possibly can, and they are moving as quickly as possible. The president's team has made it clear we need more funding from Congress to do more. We need more ICE agents out on the ground doing this very important work. And we also need rogue district court judges to stop acting as judicial activists, trying to block the administration from deporting illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
Absolutely.
The American public elected the president to do this, and he's following through with that promise.
We have over 250,000 Chinese nationals in our country right now on student visas. Does the administration believe there's any national security concern when it comes to those over 250,000 Chinese nationals in our country?
Well, as you know, when it comes to foreign visas, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke visas of those who we feel are acting in a adversarial way to our foreign policy interests here in the United States. He has that authority according to the Immigration and Nationality Act. So I would defer you to the State Department for any individual.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop there for a moment. Listen to what he's asking and listen to the response. And just overall, what are we hearing here? All these concerns about Chinese people in the United States. We have 250,000 of them. They're all terrorists. There's real racial paranoia present in this administration. I mean, they're worried about a Chinese person behind every bush. They're worried about Chinese people in Canada. We keep hearing this rhetoric that Canada's the biggest threat to the United States because blah, blah, because we have too many people from other countries in our country. I think if you're listening to this, they probably have more Chinese people in America right now than we have in Canada. If they're worried about Chinese infiltration in Canada, maybe they should be looking at what's going on in their own country first. And if it was really that serious a threat, what are they waiting for? All these Chinese people, all these Chinese awful, terrible people. What are they waiting for? Maybe there isn't the threat that you think. This smacks of the same kind of prejudice that was present at times during World War II. I just did that piece about Japanese Canadians and the way they were so poorly treated, during wartime and the camps that they were sent to. This is like history repeating itself, man. Just saying. And a lot of this crap is just, I'm sorry, it's just ratcheting up, and it's just fueling paranoia and prejudice. Here, let me continue with her.
Individual case, but they are looking at individuals who are given the privilege of being on a visa in our country, and if they are acting again adversarial to our foreign policy interests, their visa can be.
They're talking about a deportation effort here that is the equivalent of deporting half the population of Canada. For crying out loud. It's just a nightmare. Okay.
Revoked, and they should be aware of that. Sure. Go ahead. Yes. I'm calling on you.
Thank you, Karoline.
You're welcome.
Over the last few weeks, several countries have warned their citizens about travel to the U.S., and the Department of Commerce's own stats know that from a lot of that from a lot of countries, the number of visitors is falling. Does the White House have any message for people that might be reconsidering business or tourism travel to the U.S.?
Where did you see that report?
With the statistics coming from the Department of Commerce.
Oh, well,
Said
it's not
what?
fake media.
It's hard to hear you. Sorry.
The government source.
That visitors from a lot of countries have fallen in the from a lot of countries have fallen in the last 3 months?
I'd have to look at that report to comment on the merits of it. I think most people around the world recognize the United States of America is a great place to do business. It's a beautiful place to visit, and they should certainly come here because it's a much safer country than it was 4 years ago under the previous president.
But if you
Libby,
stay
good to
too
see
long,
you.
we're sending it to El Salvador.
About this upcoming announcement from HHS to ban food dyes. During the first week of the administration, the FDA announced that it's pulling its plan to ban menthol cigarettes. So 2 questions for you. How do you square a ban on menthol cigarettes being pulled and then announcing this ban on food dyes? And then how does the president feel about this upcoming ban that RFK is going to announce?
Sure. Well, look, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the president nominated him because he trusts him to make this country healthy again. It's not just a slogan. It really is a movement that has broken ground across the country. There's millions of people who believe in RFK Jr., Secretary Kennedy, and what he's doing. I don't want to get ahead of HHS with this historic announcement later and the details of it, but obviously the Secretary feels that he has reason and evidence to announce the ban on artificial dyes later, and I'll let him speak to that this afternoon. Phil.
The president started the process of reclassifying more than 50,000 federal employees as Schedule F. We've already seen him march through a number of government agencies. I'm curious, should we expect mass firings, or is this a case-by-case approach, a scalpel or a sledgehammer?
Well, look, as you saw on Friday, the president put out a statement about it. The Office of Personnel Management reclassified workers. They're now called scheduled policy/career. And all the president is trying to do is ensure that federal workers are being held accountable for corrupt behavior. If they are engaging in corruption as a government worker, they should no longer have their job. I think that's pretty common sense. He also believes that bureaucrats should be acting in accordance to the will of the American public, who duly elected this president. Not just this president, but all future presidents. If you work for the government, you should be adhering to the will of the American public and advancing the administration's goals and interests. And if you are not doing that, then you should go find another job whose interests you align with. So as for specific firings, I would defer you to the specific agencies, but the president in this move and Office of Personnel Management, it will make it easier to get rid of rogue bureaucrats who are engaging in corruption.
And then another quick question about
Sure.
Google, real quick. A federal court ruled last Thursday that Google's dominance of online advertising and ad tech markets violated U.S. antitrust laws. I know the president has spoken to a number of folks in big tech, and Google's CEO was even at his inauguration. I'm curious, what is the president's reaction to that court ruling?
I'll have to ask him, and I'll get back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Karoline.
You're welcome. John.
And we're going to come back
Some
to
economic
that.
questions for you. Kevin Hassett has been a key economic advisor to the president in both of his terms. In 2022,
And he still is.
And he still is.
He was just in my office.
Absolutely. In 2022, he said that the independence of the Fed is super important. That's a direct quote. Is that something that the president subscribes to? Does he still believe in the independence of the Federal Reserve?
Well, look, I think the president has made his position on the Fed and on Powell quite clear. The president believes that they have been making moves and taking action in the name of politics rather in the name of what's right for the American economy. The president has the right to express his displeasure with the Fed, and he has the right to say he believes interest rates should be lower. He believes Americans should be able to borrow money cheaper than they currently are right now. And I also spoke to Kevin Hassett about the Fed as well, and he has called into question the Fed's independence and whether they are actually doing things, again, out of the best interest of the economy, or are they doing it for partisan reasons. The president wants to see interest rates lower. He has made that quite clear.
We've also seen, if I may, I'm sorry, one more, Karoline, just about, I said 2 economic questions, about the dollar. We've seen the dollar at multi-year lows versus the euro and other currencies around the world. Is it the administration's policy for a strong dollar? How does it view the dollar versus other currencies around the world?
The president wants to see the dollar remain as the world's reserve currency for our long-term fiscal stability and our economic growth. He's been quite clear about that. Sure.
2 questions.
And then to the woman behind you, who I haven't seen before. Welcome. Go ahead, Mary.
Earth Day and then the Supreme Court, if that's okay.
That's right. It's Earth Day.
Yes.
Happy Earth Day, everyone.
I saw the president truthing about the garbage pileup from China in the Pacific, and then I believe Lee Zeldin is headed to San Diego to investigate the pile of sewage from.
All right, so we'll stop that there, but we're going to go back there now because I'm going to backtrack and actually rewind. because today they welcomed Tim Pool to the White House as an independent streamer. Also, I should mention, she was talking about the dollar, the economy, interest rates. Worth noting that the price of gold, as it sits right now, is at $3,355 an ounce US. Wow. Massive increase in price over the past 3 months. I think it hit a high of close to 3,500. It's back down to 55.70 now. Bouncing around a little bit. But that is an indicator of real volatility in the economy. And that back again now to the media stuff, talking about Google, the dominance of advertising, and it is true. That's why mainstream media having so much difficulty surviving, and we see this ongoing struggle all the time now with independent media trying to compete for dollars, ad dollars of any kind, but it's all shifted online. And that is influencing elections, the way that media impacts politics, our society, and it's even making changes in the White House press corps, as we see right here. This is how things started today at the White House press conference.
It's a testament to our commitment to bring new voices into the White House to cover the president and this administration. So, Tim, why don't you kick us off today?
Yeah, they're bringing in new
many of these organizations that are represented in this room.
More independent people. Let me just roll it back a little.
Building, which is a testament to our commitment to bring new voices to the podcast, exploring cultural and followers, a very big platform. Currently retirement.
Here we go.
I'm sure you will. And everybody else in the room will be very jealous of you as you're enjoying your rest. All right, let's get to it. We have an individual in our new media seat today. His name is Tim Pool. He's a political commentator and a media entrepreneur with millions of followers, a very big platform. Currently hosts Timcast IRL, a daily news and discussions show, and The Culture War, a weekly podcast exploring cultural and political issues. His programs feature in-depth conversations on topics such as free speech, censorship, identity politics, and societal change, often engaging with a diverse range of guests. He's in Washington today because we are also hosting a local media row across the street in the Eisenhower building, which is a testament to our commitment to bring new voices into the White House to cover the president and this administration. So, Tim, why don't you kick us off today?
Yes, many of these organizations that are represented in this room have marched in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe, is just simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again. Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on, following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure. Well, we certainly welcome diverse viewpoints in this room, which is one of the reasons we have you in here, and there's many new faces in this room in comparison to the previous administrations. We want to welcome all viewpoints into this room. We welcome unbiased journalists who really care about the truth and the facts and the accuracy, and you rightfully pointed out the Maryland Man story, which I, from this podium, when The Atlantic published it, on that very first day, I came to this podium and said, this is wrong. The press in this room have this story wrong, and we have seen more and more evidence come to the table that we have had all along. We were always right. The president was always on the right side of this issue to deport this illegal criminal from our community. And it is despicable to see the media continue to refer to this individual as someone who is just a peaceful man living his life in Maryland. This was and always has been an illegal criminal, an MS-13 gang member, and a designated foreign terrorist. And the administration maintains our position to deport these individuals from our community. So thank you for being here, Tim. It's great to see you. Thank you. Dasha, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Karoline.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. I have 2 questions, one on the Pentagon and another on the economy. You said on Fox News that the entire Pentagon is working against Secretary Hegseth. but the people who were fired were Hegseth's own guys. So how do you square that, and what do you say to concerns that that's bad management?
They were Pentagon employees who leaked against their boss to news agencies in this room. And it's been clear since day one from this administration that we are not going to tolerate individuals who leak to the mainstream media, particularly when it comes to sensitive information. And the Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change, and I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense since the moment that President Trump announced his nomination before the United States Senate. Let me reiterate, the President stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing to the Pentagon, and the results that he's achieved thus far speak for themselves.
Is there an FBI investigation into the leaks? The Secretary said that these people would be prosecuted, so is the FBI investigating?
You'd have to ask the FBI, you have to ask the Department of Justice on what they plan to do, but certainly we take leaks with the utmost seriously across this administration. You've seen people fired from the Department of Homeland Security. The President has made it clear it's an unacceptable behavior.
So I thought leakers were heroes and whistleblowers. And remember when Trump stood up and said, I love me some WikiLeaks, when it was going in his direction. But now he'd know if you leak, you're fired. Won't tolerate that. Oh my, how things have changed. And back to the media file. So yeah, they're hosting this like local media row thing in Washington across the street from the White House. And I don't really know what that is. It seems to be some sort of a conference of some kind, whatever, I don't know. Lunch, I think probably lunch and coffee or donuts at least. Here, I'll show you. Here's Karoline Leavitt across the street. This is on Instagram.
Hey everybody, today at the White House we are hosting Local Media Row. We have local television and radio stations from across the country who have ascended upon Washington to hear directly from White House and administration officials. We have cabinet members here today. This is another example of the most transparent and accessible White House in history, thanks to President Trump.
Well, except for when they banned Associated Press. Because why? Oh, yeah, they wouldn't call it the Gulf of America. So they got banded out of the press room, and they had to go to court to get the court to tell the White House, no, you can't do that, dude. You got to let them back in. So they did. And they said, no, no, no. But that's when they made the new media seat where you saw Tim Pool there today. They're kind of doing a rotating thing, but it shows that the media landscape is certainly changing. And that has been very apparent during this current election in Canada too. Case in point, even over the last few days, have you guys seen, yeah, look at this here. Here, I'll show you. I think this was, Kareem Assad. One of these, she's actually, I think she's actually very independent. And I kind of like some of what she does simply because she just lets her camera on her phone or her videographer who she takes with her and do the talking for her. She just, basically records events, live streams them. And the events pretty much speak for themselves. And then she does add a little bit of commentary once in a while. But over the past few days, this thing really went kind of viral. I'll show you. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Here, I'm off to Instagram again for this. I'm sure you've seen the video of hers. If you haven't, you might want to go check it out. They're calling this guy the Brantford Boomers. This was at a Carney rally. I think she was the one shooting this. Or I think it was her camera guy, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows different, but I'm pretty sure this was from her video. This is on her Instagram as well. And this guy here, they've made him kind of famous. In fact, today, what she did is she had a cardboard cutout made, like one of those stand-up things. She took the image of that guy. I assume it was her because she was carrying it around. But there was this photo turned into like a life-size cardboard stand-up thing, and she was carrying that around at the outside the venue for Carney tonight. And or no, I'm sorry, it was in Vaughan at the Polyev rally, and holding it up, and then the conservative supporters outside were giving the finger to the cardboard stand-up for that guy. And this is where, again, you're seeing media making news as much as, or more than even, covering it, which again changes the media landscape. And the reason that liberals giving the finger to the guy with the cameras because he doesn't like what he's seeing, obviously, or hearing from conservative side, the side of the social media spectrum. And so over here from the Toronto Sun, which I would say has been generally always sort of a conservative leaning newspaper in Canada. The headline there is Grinning Carney supporter gives 2 middle fingers in defining election moment. And there it is. A man who gave a giant FU at a rally for Liberal leader Mark Carney has become a symbol for critics who oppose the way Liberals treat Canadians' concerns. Photo of an older man giving a double middle finger while smiling at a rally in Bradford Friday was first shared by lawyer and political satirist Karima Saad. Elbows up or fingers up, said caption of the photo, which immediately went viral. And then it was shared online by this other guy, Jacob Bradshaw. And there's the photo again. So Toronto Sun scoring points of that, getting clicks, getting mileage. And then this is the other social media influencer who is also capitalizing on it. Let me show you. And his post being shared by other social media streamers who are, by sharing it, also gaining traction online. And here's this video.
This photo is a work of art. This photo will define this Canadian election. This older gentleman giving the double middle finger at a Mark Carney rally with a big smile on his face is a representation of an entire class of people that does not care that you won't be able to afford a home, that does not care that you won't be able to have and raise kids in this country, that does not care about the fact that their country and culture is being completely destroyed and decimated from underneath them. This is the face of people who laugh and smile at the fact that you're complaining about the state of this country. They don't care. They love it. They know what they're doing. They know they're ruining things, and they love it because they're fine. They don't have to worry about it. And you know, it's not all old people, so don't blame all the boomers. Don't say it's everybody, because it's a very select group of people. But these types of people are the ones that want to screw over your future. So are you going to let that happen, or are we going to outvote people like this? Because we cannot have this continue on. This photo is a work of art. This photo will define this Canadian election.
And so, you know, this kind of thing, it is what it is, right? Is that news that guy's doing? Is political commentary? Everybody has a right to their opinion. But this stuff is becoming very, very prominent, obviously, in our social discourse. And it's changing the way people consume media, the way people are being influenced, because these people are influencers. So it just opens a whole new dimension to media and social media and the way that it's impacting our society, our politics. I think we need to have a broader discussion about the whole thing. If for no other reason, and the most important reason is to make people more media literate, more aware of what it is they're consuming, what the agendas, the perspective, the motivators are behind these kinds of posts. And the bias, you know, making people aware as well of the bias involved in all of these things. Okay, let's take a little break here. I need to get a few things queued up. We're gonna go to the phones here in just a few moments, so we can expand on this conversation. In particular, I want to hopefully focus tonight on this whole question of new media, since we're seeing so much reference to it today. I shall return right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, let's fire up the phone lines. Give you guys a chance to call in. Here is the number to call. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-647-734-4220. Then enter the PIN number 860-075-764, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, let's bring our first callers of the evening in. We have Dragon and Isabel. Oh, and we have somebody else calling into And
Hello,
there's my
Isabel.
third caller. Is that you, John, from way out there in Alberta, Stan?
That John?
Good evening, folks. Remember John. How are you guys tonight?
Hey, the whole crew is here tonight. Great to have you guys here.
I have a new idea now for a shirt.
Oh.
Fingers up or elbows.
Yeah.
Underneath you, June.
Well, you know, I have to say that when I see that stuff, it just shows that we're on a race to the bottom in many, many ways. I'm not encouraged by that. I am laughing about it though, but
I seen that video at the time and I'm thinking, I hope you're not going to be a spokesperson for all us grays out here, because you know.
yeah. Oh, it's not good. So
although I'll never go gray, so I'm okay.
Yeah, you know, it's the everything is deteriorating out there on the media front. In my view, they say journalism is dead. I'm kind of that opinion at this point, because the medium is forcing media outlets, both independent and mainstream, to become more take a more entrenched position on things, because polarization is rewarded, especially online. The algorithms like reward you if you have a polarizing message, because you generate more engagement. So it's just that
it's like a rush to idiocy, you know that?
Yeah.
Well, in news literacy, or in what we call journalist technique, it's basically priming. So yeah, that's basically provoking polarization of a said subject.
It's another way to get us angry again at each other, right?
Yeah, and then
they haven't had enough.
And I noticed this post here tonight from Chris Stacey. He does his own thing. He's a new media guy. I'm not entirely comfortable with what a lot of these streamers do, because they kind of get injected into the story, and we see people getting into confrontations, which we've talked about from time to time. But in other ways, Chris Stacey does achieve some pretty important things. And tonight at the Polyev rally, some pro-Palestinian protesters showed up, and it resulted in this exchange between you see Rebel Media's there holding some sign. I don't know what the hell that is. And then you've got the pleb guy there who is pretty abrasive, to say the least, sometimes, in my opinion. And then of course, the pleb gets right into it with the protesters. And this is what I'm talking about too. Well, watch what happens here. And Chris Stacey captures this moment, which is an important function for especially independent streamers, because the technology, cameras right on your phone, it puts accessibility into the hands of just regular people, who then can become journalists or whatever, or influencers, whatever you want to call them. Look at this exchange.
Looks like things are getting.
How are you protesting in our country? You stay here. You live on Wellington. Deported. Go back to your country.
The pleb is not happy. Pleb is not happy.
Welcome to Toronto, JC.
Yeah, I tried to get away from this, and look, and I come and it finds me here, and I'm trying to get him worked up. He's getting attacked. It's the same crap everywhere.
Look, David, I travel all over the world. I'm a world traveler. I go all over the place. When I go to other countries, I don't protest in other countries. And I think that my parents taught me to be a good guest. And I feel like this is kind of being a bad guest and kind of a slap in the face to Canadians. To be on our streets protesting pro-terrorism. I mean, what has happened with this world, David? How are they? Why is this been going on for 2 years? Why? When is this going to stop?
My position, Pleb, these last 18 months is what we have seen is the death of multiculturalism. The deal.
So this guy literally sat there and said, "Go back to your own country." They're not being good guests, but I'll tell you, my guess is that a lot of, maybe even all of those people are Canadian citizens, or maybe not. I don't know, but I would say a bunch of them are. And then he's saying, "Go back to where you came from." Where have we heard that kind of talk in the past? I'm getting pretty uncomfortable with it. Is that journalism? I'll throw it to you guys.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Antagonism. Yeah.
Well, Isabel, Dragon, and Rick, I got a question for you guys. Have you ever seen any of this? It's called Northern Perspective. I think it's renamed Juno News now, rebranded. But this husband and wife that are
actually
kind
no,
of pretty
John,
anti-liberal.
I need to just correct you. I am familiar. And, you know, we've spoken a little bit about this, you and I have with some other people too, prior to the broadcast. But no, that's not accurate. You're thinking of True North, which
True North. It's
associated with Juno, and True North was Andrew Lawton, who is actually running as a Conservative candidate now. And True North actually, yes, he's running as the Conservative candidate in one of the London ridings, which is only about an hour from here in my old hometown. And
interesting.
And it's Candace Malcolm, who's with Juno News, kind of fronting things over there now, I think, pretty much, who's been there for quite a while. Both of those brands, conservative oriented, and I'm pretty sure there is documented funding from conservative sources, funding sources as well, to those media, independent media outlets. So anyway, but go ahead. The Northern Perspective thing, that's something new. That's a husband and wife team that is, I don't know how long they've been doing it, not very long. They just, one of these new conservative podcasts, live stream things that has popped up, I'd say almost even within the last year.
Well, and interesting, they appear to be very pro-conservative, in fact, door knocking.
Yeah.
It's a little weird, isn't it?
Well, it's an example of where things are different right now, right? Because in my background as a reporter, I was never allowed to even come out to say anything. Like, as a reporter, you don't inject your opinion into a story, especially a political story in the middle of a campaign to endorse or whatever a candidate. But things have changed so much. Yeah, I mean, as I've discussed with some people over the past couple of days, prior to this, we're seeing, hang on, I have to do it through this platform. Yeah, I'm sure this was prompted because of our discussion, John, about Northern Perspective and this post that they put up about campaigning with a candidate in the Kitchener area, right?
Right.
Yeah, so here they were. This was from, was it 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago. And here they are. You know, so a lot of people look at these guys as news. You're welcome to do that if you choose to. But they're like, these guys literally going out and campaigning for a conservative candidate in the Kitchener area, saying just because you voted doesn't mean the work is over. There is still a week left of this campaign, and your EDA, Electoral District Association, needs your help. We were out door knocking in Kitchener yesterday with Kelly DeRitter because we want to see every riding turn blue. And here's their post.
Ryan and Tanya here for Northern Perspective. We're here in the riding at Kitchener Centre with Kelly DeRitter, Conservative candidate that is going to take this riding away from the Green Party, whether they like it or not. And ladies and gentlemen, Tanya and I voted yesterday in our riding for Ned Curick, the riding of Hamilton, East Stony Creek, but the work does not stop when you vote. There is still over a week and a half left of this campaign, and we have to put in the work. Keep volunteering for your EA. They need you out there to help get people out to vote. Speaking of that, Kelly, what do you see at the doors?
We're seeing a lot of energy at the doors. This is exciting times. We are taking it from the Greek party and we're going to turn it blue. But like Ryan has said, we need the help. We need the votes. Everybody, volunteers, come out. Help us on E-Day. Help us with this final push in our election. Let's turn this riding blue.
Ryan.
So there you go. Like that to me is like a campaign ad as much as anything else. What do you guys think?
To me, it's
Definitely.
an endorsing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't know how much more blatant you can get about an endorsement. So, have you guys watched their live stream at all?
No, I haven't seen them.
Yeah, they're pretty new. They have a pretty big.
They're pretty
big. Yeah,
they're pretty boring too.
Are they? I
Yeah.
don't really watch them
Sorry.
enough to know. But
No disrespect to them, but boring.
They need a little more pizzazz, do they, John?
They need Isabel on their show. You're
Oh,
an
yeah.
influencer, my dear. Isabel and Dragon, you're influencers.
Oh,
I've been thinking about what happened to the pleb on that clip, and you know what I think? It's sad because the way that he acts makes independent like me or Rick probably look bad. And that will probably make us pay for people that doesn't know how to put themselves at the right place and know what to say, right?
it's one thing to cover a story, but to inject yourself and make yourself look idiotic, antagonizing, that doesn't help the other podcasters out there.
That's it.
Yeah,
we
You know, it's
pay for
almost
a
like-
bad image made by someone.
Yes. And it only takes one or two to do that, and then everybody's like, "Oh, well, you know what they are."
Well,
everybody gets categorized. I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm
it's
pulling
a
up
rough
something
road.
here, so I'm a little out of the loop here. I need a moment while I get this other stuff queued, but please continue talking.
Oh, Rick's got some timers again.
Well, I
it-
mean, look,
it's-
that comes into the etiquette, right? I mean, you need to have a ethique and some standard when you go outside and start to be there and doing their thing. But that's another point. See what happened with me last time I went for a report. You had the pro-Palestinian blocking me off at some point, and I got caught basically by Rebel News camera, which made me the news instead of making me the one who's making the news or whatever it is. But the thing is that it is probably planned for Rebel News to do that, and I'm probably just assuming that on my own. But the thing is that I mean, they did the same thing with the pleb, although they didn't brought me in front of the camera or the microphone, so I couldn't say anything. But the pleb is well known, and now he got injected into the story. So, it's clearly
For publicity, right?
So, yeah, it's a sort of a bad publicity at the same time.
But the thing is, Dragon, any time in my humble opinion in Alberta, anytime you've done anything for Maverick in the field, you've always been very professional, very non-confrontational, very non-biased, down the middle of the road, and you're just trying to gather facts and have the scene open up for Maverick viewers. So I applaud you, sir.
Well,
Yeah,
I got a
I've
good
watched
mentor.
I've watched your when you televise everything like that, Dragon, and you're on the sideline showing us what's happening. You're not part of it. And the pleb and I forgot the name of the other one. My God, I got some timers too. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget.
Rebel News, the Menzoid.
Pardon?
Rebel News, the David
Rebel
Menzoid.
News. They like to inject themselves so that everybody's like, "Oh my God, look what's happened to Rebel. Look what's happened to Plex." so they're part of it focuses all on them, not what they're supposed to be focused on.
Right.
That's
But
what
at
I
the
love.
same time, when I reflect on what I did with the few months of reporting and observing the pro-Palestinian in McGill, it's sort of a, I don't know, is it a sort of a social experiment that I did? Because I'm not, a bad guy. I'm clearly not with Rebel News. And every time I got there, it was, oh, here comes Rebel News, little guy. Or, it was like basically calling me names like that. So, I mean.
Yes, like when you went on the campus and they all turned their umbrellas on you, they had already perceived who or where you were coming from without even giving you a chance.
That's it.
So,
and I'm like, wow.
So we see more and more of these independent streamers coming online. How do you think that's impacting, John, the current Canadian election?
Well, they're just popping up like dandelions in the garden. I mean, there's just new ones coming along all the time. I have a feeling, I don't know, guys, how you feel about it. I just kind of get a feeling that it's a lot of sort of oil or conservative money staged kind of propaganda platforms, and none of those people, I don't even think they've spent one day in journalism school. What do you think? Am I off base?
Sorry, go ahead, guys, and comment if you want.
You're probably right. I don't think that they have spent much a day at journalism school, like I don't even have. So, I mean, that's just my thing. But I think that we should probably do some guidelines around that in some point in time, because the misinformation and polarization of the bad information that can turn around could probably destroy probably even the country.
But, sorry, go ahead, Isabel.
Well, when I look at it, and like you say, all these guys are popping up, this seems to me like all of a sudden somebody sitting at home's got nothing better to do, and they're, oh, I can go do that. And they come out, but they don't have any professionalism. So here you go, and we're going to get a lot of twisted stories and propaganda and, cut here, cut there, and let's paste that and put it on there, and, to get views and get hits. These guys are not.
It seems to me that we're seeing a lot of new conservative influencers popping up. I'm not seeing so much on the liberal side. There are some, not that he popped up new, but one that comes to mind is like Dean Blundell. He seems to be more sort of liberal, little more to the center left. He's been pretty prominent, but he's not like, he's not like brand new, and he's got experience in media. So he's a different, he's got a little more professionalism, but he's, like all of us, he's being kind of pulled into a new style, but I'm seeing a lot of conservative live streamers pop up, and I'll get your comment on that. And are you noticing the same thing? Is it mostly conservatives? They seem to have the upper hand when it comes to dealing with new media.
I don't watch a lot of them.
Well, I think, Rick, about 99% of them are diehard conservatives, to be blunt, honest. The ones that I see out west anyways.
Yeah.
Well, to tell you the truth, I've not seen much liberal or NPD influencer around. Most of the influencer online I see is conservative. And I mean, for those who like to call themselves commentator and probably also news journalist in the political field, it's weird that nowadays, when earlier you couldn't be basically giving or endorsing a political party, nowadays it's clearly more of a thing that you see influencers or news journalists probably trying to basically open themselves to the fact that they are endorsing one party or another.
Do you think this is like a competition between them trying to, I'm not saying be on the same level as, but because CBC has always been a liberal pusher because they've been backed by them, that these people have decided that we're going to start pushing, you know, the conservatives because we know how CBC gets their money.
Well, and Isabel, you guys realize that Ezra Levant, the other day with the English debate, he has sued CBC News, Rosemary Barkley, and it's a 10-pager he was showing. You know anything about that, Rick?
I know that he's suing over that trademark thing, which again, I think is like grandstanding over the button gate. Is that the lawsuit you're referring to?
Yeah, maybe it is the button gate.
So what that is
it is about
Ezra
it.
Levant at some point purchased the copyright and registered the trademark for Make Canada Great Again. And that was one of the slogans they put on these buttons that have been allegedly left at a liberal event. It's supposed to be like a plant to make it look like conservatives put them there or something. And and so now, because they put that slogan on a button and left it at an event, Levant is suing the Liberal Party, and I think Carney, I'm not exactly sure who is named, for trademark.
I think Rick, I think it was the other way around. I think Ezra Levant is alleging that it was Coleman Carney's Liberal camp that planted the buttons at a conservative thing to make Poilievre look bad, like a Trump.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm, it's also twisted. You're quite right. Upside down. That's the way it is. But he's suing the Liberals. And
so does this mean Ezra needs more funding again?
Yep.
Yeah. He'll get people to donate to fund his legal battle for the trademark infringement, and then if he wins, he'll keep the money and not give any back. and he'll use it for the money, obviously, because of that, the terms of service, which I only became aware of, a couple of days ago, which basically means that regardless of what cause you think you're donating to, they get to use it it just goes into the general revenue stream over a Rebel Media. So.
Yeah.
Another caller just joined us on the line.
And I'm sure that is relevant. I'm sure that he's selling one or two books at the same time.
Yeah. Who just joined us on the line?
Hello, Rick. Hello, Dragon. Hello, Isabel. Hello, John. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Doing
sir.
good.
How are you, sir?
I've been listening off and on. I'm at work. It's Leo, by the way. Man, it's I don't know. I think we're being played for fools, okay, all the way around. And I've been saying it, I'm voting for conservative only for one reason. And I hope I'm wrong that they don't fail. But it's only one way to find out, okay? But if they're going to fail, they're going to fail. Hopefully I'm wrong. If I'm not wrong, then we better start thinking seriously of a third reliable party in this country, right? Because things are only going to get worse, right? They're not going to get any better. His platform for the $90 billion over 4 years, that's a pipe dream and a half.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
we're talking about, media really specifically to Leo. So, what are your thoughts?
The pleb.
I
caught your play on the pleb.
Yeah.
The pleb. I feel sorry for a lot of these people out there because they got a lot of time, Rick. Okay, they're not professional people at all. Okay, a lot of time invested in their social media by spewing what they think is right, and if they're wrong and they lose, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people out there that'll probably do some pretty crazy things to themselves, harming themselves, right, on both sides of the fences. It's sickening. It's sickening what I'm watching, right? For the pleb, you should never even got involved in that. Do your thing. Do what you're doing. Okay, you're making money, you're grifting. Great, I'm happy for them. But don't ever engage yourself like that. Really, don't do it.
I find the confrontation like that is, first of all, it's not necessary, and Well, I just find it unprofessional.
Well, why put yourself out there? Okay, now he lives. I don't know where he's living, Ottawa, Montreal, wherever he's living. Okay, he's got to look because he's not what would we say, a fighter. He's a flighter. We'll call him a flighter. Okay, he's not a fighter. I'm a fighter. He's a flighter. Okay, so he's going to be looking over his back everywhere he goes because he's going to be worried about a Palestinian brick coming towards his head or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that could eat him up mentally.
Yeah. Well, do you think what he does is journalism? Because I think that's really one of the key questions.
No, it's not journalism. What I'm seeing a lot of things that are going on with the mainstream media guys is everybody's feeding off of one another. You got Jasmine Lane out there. I like her work. I really do like her work. Okay, she digs for her own shit. Moose on the Loose, he digs, but then everybody feeds off everybody else, right? So it's all the same shit. I can't even watch it anymore, Rick. Really. Yeah. Even Shadow Davis. Shadow Davis is another one I can't because it's the same shit over and over and over. I seen it by 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, like as much as I know a lot of people like Jasmine Lane, for me, I don't view what they're doing, any of these guys, really as journalism. I see them as influencers. Mm-hmm. And what I found out just by watching them is that there's this sort of decentralized network of influencers. And this gentleman here, he goes by the name of Vesper. I don't know if you guys are aware.
Yeah, he's a liberal. He's a liberal guy type of guy.
Actually,
I see.
He's conservative, man, like through and through. From Quebec, has a company called Vesper Digital. He has worked.
Another guy.
Yeah, so this guy, he is a marketing expert, and he, as far as I can tell, okay, and what he's been doing is he's been helping these podcasters. I know that he helped Northern Perspective develop their brand. I believe he helped Clyde do something. And I think he helped Mr. Sunshine Baby.
He's another one, yep.
I'm pretty sure that he's got connections. He knows Jasmine Lane for sure. I don't know if he's actually helped her, but you'll see a common style between all of them, I've noticed. And I'm going to play a little clip for you here of Vesper. This is him on the Sean Newman podcast. And this gentleman, his first name is Eli. I'm sorry, I don't know a lot about him, but this is actually, I've been researching a lot of this stuff for the past month just because I wanted to talk about media, and we're kind of doing that tonight. Here's him making reference to what he's been doing.
Conversation continues to grow.
Also, he's been also kind of helping to facilitate, as all of these guys have, very interestingly, discussions about Alberta separatism. And also interestingly, I think all of these guys are pretty much Western Canada based, a lot of them from Alberta. And even though he's from Quebec, he talks about Quebec separatism and as well. But that is because of him. This is why these guys are so successful. And I think it's because he's helped them with their branding. There's something else going on as well that's helping them leverage their reach. So they're getting a ton of views, but it's not by accident. It's by design. And it's largely because I think of the genius of this guy.
I think what I'm noticing is the table is being set. Now, if Carney gets in for the last month, all the conversations.
This is Sean Newman. He's going to go to Vesper in a moment.
Throw him in the can. And wait for the next opportunity. That's all I'm going to say. There'll be an opportunity somewhere down the road.
Again, short of a complete civil war,
correct,
or an invasion by the United States.
Sure.
Give me a scenario where the Governor General, the Senate, the House of Commons. By the way, guys,
and the people, Vesper, and the people,
and the province, and the provinces.
I'm telling you right now, the Alberta population, if Pierre gets in, a whole bunch is just like, we got Pierre in. Things are going to get better. That's
and it's not going to fix the equalization payments, and it's not going to.
I understand.
You're going to stay disgruntled.
So you look at the table that's being set, and we're building it off of. I'm building it off of, right. The way my brain looks at this is, I go, Everything my eyes tell me
brand,
is Pierre
see?
Poilievre is going to win. Minus, you take out the polls and all the I'm just like the videos and everything, the way people talk. It's just like Pierre is the popular choice. He has been now for what, a year, longer than that. Enter Carney, and you go, okay, Carney is a part of the elite world. Now, we've rattled off the WEF and all these different things, the banking side of this, on and on and on. He represents a ton of humanity that I'm not very fond of. You get him selected, yes, use the word, as the Liberal candidate and the Prime Minister of Canada. And now he's going to run. He can't, I don't know, you're French speaking, like tell me, is he a fluent, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this. Is he a gifted orator in French?
No, but that's not really the issue. I want to encourage you. Can I encourage you? Because I usually am not known for encouraging people, but let me encourage, right? I know I'm supposed to be a Christian encouraging people, but let me encourage you something. So I don't say this lightly. I pulled in a lot of favors.
Listen here.
In the last year. And you know that I've had a hand in helping a lot of influencers build their brands and blah, 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 and things like that. But before that, in my career, I did a lot of favors for a lot of people. And some of those people are analysts. I have, in the last 3 months, pulled, I'd say roughly 16 analysts. One of them is more of a statistician. A few of them are in the States. Some of them are in Europe, not Russia. Some of them are... We've campaigned together helping upper echelon brands.
Sure.
And I gave them all these numbers and the media and the perception of the media and this. They found $160 million being pumped into the liberal advertising apparatus in the last 3 months. These are guys that are like way more equipped in terms of analysis than me. Okay. It's very, very important that you understand that there is a lot of smoke, and all the people that I have relied on for the last 20 years are telling me you guys are still in majority based on consensus.
So then what are we even talking about? Because at the end of the day...
Well, this is the great show, right? The great show is this whole Kamala Harris effect of, I think what's happened is that people are so terrified. I mean, I had an uncle.
Okay, so the point is that you're seeing it happening, and he's acknowledging this, on both sides. 160 million being pumped into social media on the liberal side, that these analysts that he's consulting with in Europe and in the US, which is a key question here, I would say. But what he's also acknowledging, but not really commenting on further, is his influence alone on these very successful live streamers here in Canada. Mr. Sunshine Baby, Jasmine Lane. I don't know exactly who all he's working with, but certainly for sure Northern Perspective, because he was on their program talking about it openly. Also, yeah, Mr. Sunshine Baby, I think he works with him. Point is, and you're seeing this common theme, but I don't know that he's actually taking any money for it. It may be just him doing it because he wants to. That also raises a question. What is, a donation in kind? This is getting into, opening a lot of questions about funding, the ethics, because if you buy just even an advertisement, political advertisement, or put a campaign together online through Google, YouTube, Facebook, whatever, there's paperwork to be filled out. There are regulations that you have to abide by. Elections Canada has rules for advertising. There are foreign funding laws that restrict how much advertising you can buy. But at what point does advertising end and journalism begin, or free speech begin? What is free speech versus an ad? What is marketing versus political commentary versus reporting? It all becomes a gray area, and everybody certainly has a right to free speech. But when you see all these parties now engaging online, he's helping one group. He mentions 160 million coming from the liberal side to influence people on the other side. I'm not exactly sure who he's influencing, because wherever they're spending it, I don't think seeing it, but maybe it's because it's not flowing through to me. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Help me.
Well, in my writing, Gil, who's running for the Windsor West, Okay, they've reached out to me because my Facebook presence is nice. Okay, and I'm a Windsor West boy. I've been born and raised in the same neighborhood, right? And I know everybody in the West End, right? And they reached out to me to pump as much information as I can for the Conservatives. Okay, and I'm pumping what I want to pump. And that's it, right? And I'm pumping the truth, and I'm not going to lie to people. You know, like when I tell people on my Facebook Live, it's majority probably conservatives that are watching me, but I'm not going to lie to you guys, okay? Hopefully they don't fail, but you know, over the past 50 years of my life, it's been conservative, liberal, conservative, and they failed at both ends. Right,
well,
so
only
I'm not going to
liberal or conservative governments, and then here's Jasmine
Right.
Lane. Okay, and you mentioned her, so I just bring her up here because even with her,
she's got an interview with Pierre. I think it already happened. I don't know if it aired yet. Okay, so she's got to sit down with Pierre Poilievre. Are they making money? Somewhere down the line, somebody's making money.
Well, here she is on a website for a marketing company called Creator Aid, and she is a Creator Aid influencer working for this company, Creator Aid, out of, I believe, Winnipeg. They have a media release for her here. I did call them about it's got to be almost 2 months ago now. Because they had this media release out about her when I first became aware of her. And I know that she had been sort of appearing on some different media platforms. There's a way to contact them. So I did to get more information about her, which I inquired about. And I just asked some questions. And they were supposed to get back to me, but never, ever did. I was interested in speaking with her, finding out more about this. And I wanted to actually have this kind of discussion too, either with her or with someone at their company about, new media, the impact that it has on things like elections and the new media space. But no response from Creator Aid. But I don't think people are aware that, she used to work in radio, mainstream radio, sort of a morning show that she was involved with. And now she's in this space and they're really pumping her, pushing her. But this is not organic. And I don't know specifically what the Creator Aid connection is to her and her political stuff, but she's certainly there. So she's not like, for me, a traditional reporter, journalist, unbiased, balanced reporting. She is a conservative pushing a conservative message, a narrative. There's a bias there. Comments?
Reporting to me, Rick, is something like Dragon was doing. You get to get on the scene, okay? Start talking to people, even if people don't want to talk to you. Okay, you're still trying to report the story live. Okay, say I'm not a reporter, and I'll never call myself a reporter. But if I see, and I've seen it, and I've reported on it. Okay, fires happening at homeless centers and this and that, right? And people displaced on the street barefoot, and I give them the shoes off my feet, right? Now that's a story. Okay.
Yeah, that's journalist reporting. Yeah.
Right, but I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy, whatever, right? Fucking running around with my phone, doing what I do. And but that's reporting. I think it all ends. It all ends for a lot of these guys.
Rick, that Jasmine, she got dumped off that radio show. I think she got fired.
Yeah, well, they let her go. I don't know what the circumstances were.
Okay, well,
a lot of people in media get
same
fired.
thing,
Like,
isn't it?
if you don't get fired 20 times when you're working in media in this country, then you're just not doing your job. So, I can't hold any of that against her. But
I want to go back to what you were saying about ethics and standard, because the thing is that the guideline behind a journalist and where you had that limit between the ads and messaging. If I do remember well, back in the 90s and probably before 2000, you didn't add much ads of political parties in the between of two segment into a news on the 6 o'clock news on CBC or whatever. You had like ads for products. You had those other ads, but not a political rally ads or a ads preaching for which one or the other guy, right? That's the thing.
Well, there are laws, rules about political advertising. They change a little bit over time, but even with reporting, if you're working as a reporter for a licensed television station, there are rules. You have to at least mention these other candidates in your writing when you're talking about politics. They're just ethical rules, but there are no rules for these people online. This is
It's funny you say that. Right? Sunday I was shopping, for my necessities of life, and I'm at this superstore, and I pump into Chris Enzing from CBC, and he sees me right away. Whether he's with his girlfriend or his wife, I don't know. He say, "Leo, how you doing?" Right, so we're talking this and that, right? And he didn't know what happened over my case, and this. And I told him, so really, I see, I didn't want it in the media or anything. I really don't care. I just want everything to end and be free someday here soon, right? And we're talking about media, and he's like, Leo, he admitted it to me. He says, I can't say what I want to say. Everything's edited, for starters. Okay, and it goes upstairs, and they tell you what you got to say in the newsroom, man. If you don't, then you get fired. That's his livelihood, right? I said, no, I get it, man. I know what's going on, right? And it's not just CBC, it's CTV, it's global, it's everybody, right? They're all in cahoots. So, and I know media is being paid off.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, Leo, and having worked in mainstream media
they're paid off.
For all that
they're
time.
paid off by taxpayer subsidies, right?
Well,
that's
not an entirely fair assessment. That's I've accused them of that too, and there is some of that in the backs of minds of journalists, but it's not really fair to, especially in this environment, to paint the mainstream media entirely with that, because as I pointed out, as a journalist working in mainstream media, there is public funding for a lot of them now, if not all of them. But there's a realization that isn't like Liberal Party money, that's public money. And there is a public trust.
It's not just the Liberals that have been doing it, it's the Conservatives too.
It's all of them. Yeah, but the point is, it's not coming from the party, it's coming from the government, which is the money of the people. And there's a recognition of that. In addition to that, as I continue to point out, there's there are far more checks and balances in place for mainstream media journalists than there are for someone like Jasmine Lane. And all the money, every penny at the CBC, every penny at CTV, exactly where it's coming from. It has to be disclosed. It is out in the public, so everybody knows. There's complete transparency. And then there are rules from outside organizations like the Canadian Association of Journalists, Radio Television Digital News Directors Association. There are about a dozen others in various provinces, and journalists are held to account by those professional organizations above and beyond what they're held to through their promise of performance, through the Canadian Radio Telecommunications Commission. And then there's the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council. If you have something that you want to complain about, you can file a formal complaint with the CBSC and actually have a license yanked for a broadcaster if they do something out of line. If a reporter with a mainstream media outlet had done what the pleb did tonight, not only would that reporter be fired instantly, the license for that broadcaster would be placed under review and possibly even yanked because of what he said to those pro-Palestinian protesters and being engaged like that. It would be required for them to discipline that guy and fire him. So he wouldn't last 2 seconds in that environment, and rightly so, frankly, because what he did there was way out of line and was, frankly, racist as hell. And I'll stand by that statement all day long. Now,
it was funny how Rebel News jumped right up on him right away. Rebel News, let's get an interview with the pleb.
Yeah, of course. And then they capitalize on it too. They're not subject to the same standards. And yet then you see Rebel News holding mainstream media accounts saying, you're not balanced. You have to report both sides of the story. You've got a bias. You're biased this way or you're biased that way. Meanwhile, they don't even pretend to be impartial. And there's Ezra Levant, honestly, They're supporting the Conservatives in this election, no question about it. And more than that, they're really supporting even separatism out in Alberta. They're just blatant and upfront about it. And they keep platforming all of these pro-separatist activists like that lawyer, Mr. Rath. And you've got Keith Wilson, the lawyer, who's out there every day now, beating the separatist war drum for Alberta. And Rebel News is not only platforming him, but honestly looks to me like promoting him. And the question I have is, where's the transparency on their funding? We don't really know where all the funding for Rebel Media comes from. I don't know where Jasmine Lane really gets her money from. What's influencing her? How did she get an interview with Pierre Poilievre? Why is Poilievre going to her? And who is she actually working for? We see that she's working for Creator Aid, which is a marketing company. They do marketing. And we also know that she's connected to Vesper, who's a political operative, a political marketing guy, guru who works with political parties, is connected to the United States. And what do we see? And he's talking about separatism himself. This is of concern to me. I'm not saying they're doing anything necessarily even wrong, but I think the public deserves to know and have some level of transparency as we move forward. We need to be looking at these issues, and at the very least, what we can do here, because I am still an old dinosaur journalist. I do try to provide balance, and I just want to inform people so that they become more media literate. So you understand what it is you're watching. You get a better grasp of what her and what these others, what their agenda might be, or their motivation at least, right?
Yeah, well, that's accountability too. And if I'm not mistaken, Rick, but would it be fair if we can go there in a logistically speaking ways, that maybe nowadays we should probably divulge or indulge in to say to people where you are or where you're from, who you are, what kind of education you had before starting to say whatever you're doing online. For example, if you're commenting.
And I don't even really care about the education. Anybody can be a journalist, but you actually have to practice journalism if you're going to call yourself a journalist. It isn't enough to simply pick up a phone and start streaming video. That doesn't make you a journalist. It's whether you're practicing journalism. If you're not practicing actual journalism, then you're doing something else. You might be a comedian. You might be an entertainer. You might be just, as they call her right here, they're calling her an influencer. Being an influencer is not being necessarily a journalist, and you're talking about marketing. So it's
going to be funny to see where all these guys go after this election, right? Let's say that Pierre wins, where all the conservative podcasters go after this, because guess what? What are they going to talk about next? Right? The election's done. Right? Are they going to do some real reporting? I don't know.
Well,
They're just going to disappear.
I mean, some of these other guys have been very successful prior, like Mr. Sunshine Baby, and and I don't consider him to be a journalist, and I take exception to some of the stuff these guys post because I don't think it's accurate. I think they exaggerate. They
clickbait all day long.
Yeah.
Okay. Clickbaiting all day long. If you look at his headlines, Mr. Sunshine Baby, that's all over for Carney, this and that, right? And Carney just lost the election with this, right? And you go on there and it's nothing even remotely to what he's saying, right? And it's like, fuck, really, buddy? So every time you click on the thing, you watch the commercial. I know because I'm getting paid, right, the same way. Not like I wish I was getting as paid as much as those guys or as much as Rick Walker. But I'm getting as paid as much as Dragon is. Okay, I am making some money on Google, right? But there is, you're right. You got to send in all your banking information, all that shit, right? They want to know who you are. Pardon?
No, I was just actually agreeing of what you were saying. I'm agreeing.
Yeah, it's a big hassle, right? Is it really worth a couple $100 a month or whatever, right? Because what's going to happen is I'm going to have to start a little business and write it off as my cell phone bill and my internet, right? Or the government's going to come and take it, right? Right. So these guys are making money. They're making money, Isabel. Big bucks.
That is, but the headline there, or the underscore is, They're influencers. They're there to influence. They're not there to report.
Right. I like fair reporting. I don't mind that. There's that new guy that come out since we're talking about these guys. That Vaughn.
Who?
What's his name? Is the guy with the long hair? He looks like he's a biker. Vaughn.
Don't know him.
Vaughn. Look in the chat.
Freedom
Somebody.
Man?
No. He was with Max Bernier, and then he broke away from Max Bernier in that party. He was one of the original guys. Look in the chat. Somebody will probably post. He's moving up. This guy, right? But he's not on Pierre's side. He ain't on Carney's side. He ain't on Max's side. This guy. He's a realist.
Well, Rick, Rick, that Jasmine, they're all going on each other's pod shows now. She was just on Clyde last week with Keith Wilson. They're all flipping around and now having guest spots on all these different shows. And Mike DeMore wants to know, are the comment section turned off on YouTube, Rick?
Yes, they are, John. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was in the chat there.
Yeah.
Mike DeMore wanted to know.
I'll try to address that in detail maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's funny you said that, John? Because the pleb was bragging that he's going in Nanaimo. PP must be going in Nanaimo next to the island, Vancouver Island. And he's bragging that he's hooking up with Mr. Sunshine Baby, and they're going to do something.
Yeah.
They're going to collaborate, right? So it's funny you're saying
Leo,
that.
Yeah, they're all going on one another's shows now as kind of guest appearances, and I mean, I think they're all interlinked behind the scenes.
That's a common strategy, though. There are sort of networks or decentralized networks of live streamers, and if you have a similar or a political slant, people tend to go on each other's programs. And I was running into
don't get
that
me
for a
wrong.
while,
If Joe Rogan called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, I want you to come on as Libby the Liberal," fuck, I'll be on there tomorrow, right? Well, I like that.
You know what, guys?
So what is that Libby the Liberal thing?
I'm making fun of all of them, Rick. Okay, Pierre Poilievre, Jagmeet Singh, and Libby the Liberal's a guy that's liberal. We'll call him 100% liberal, 55 years old, living in his parents' basement, on welfare, pharmaceuticals, right? It's just, that's all it is.
Can I run? I found it here. Can I?
Yeah.
You want me to show people that?
You can show people all you want. Right? Jagmeet Singh. My wife's. I put a towel on my head. It's like a turban, and I call myself Leo Meat Singer. Right?
Hang on here. Hang on just a second. Hang on. Where did I go? Sorry, go ahead. You talk there, Leo, and all.
You do have a sense of humor, Leo. That's for sure.
It is. That's all it is. I make fun of all of them. Okay, even Donald Trump. All of them. And
people are so sensitive now, Leo.
It is
this younger woke generation. You can't make a joke about anything.
Is this it? Yeah,
Right?
there you go.
I do
got
this
itchy
live,
ass
Rick.
tonight. I don't know why.
Oh no, you're playing that one. Oh no.
I can't stop itching my ass.
And I do this live
I
with
just
a
keep
straight
itching my
face
ass. I
without
don't know
laughing.
why. Oh, I got ass candy.
Oh no.
Oh, look at that.
That's
Doesn't smell
Nutella,
bad.
by the way. That's Nutella.
Man, did y'all see this story about that?
Free food.
Free food.
You.
I bet that'll go good with my donkey piss.
6-year-old woman.
Apple juice.
We need change. I think I need to change the underwear. That's what I need. I just scratched my ass and look. Ass candy. Look at the ass on my teeth. Libby like ass candy. I can get some more ass candy. You guys like when Libby eats ass candy? Ooh, look at my fingers made up into my butthole. Look at that. Oh, yeah. My mommy be proud right now. Livy love ass candy. It's free. Look at it, it's all over my teeth. I think I have to brush my teeth. I just hope my mom don't give me a kiss goodnight tonight before she goes to bed, because she's going to smell ass candy. I need some donkey piss. Let me love donkey piss and ass candy. I only get ass candy at night. I hope the dogs don't jump on me and eat my ass candy. Hi there, Boomer. Libby was just scratching my ass. Look, I got ass candy. I'm drinking donkey piss.
So that's a character you've created?
Hey?
Is that a character you created, I guess, eh?
Yeah, and I do shit like that. I'll put a turban on my head, right, to make fun of Jagmeet Singh and Pierre Poilievre and talking about axing the taxes and all his bullshit slogans, right? He's got a million of them, right? And yeah, just make fun of them, right? All of them. Nobody gets out alive, right? And that's Canadian. That's humor. And like John said, a lot of people they're sensitive, right? But I get thousands of people that are watching these videos and they're just laughing, going. And then I get people that comment, send me messages. They think Libby's a real character, right? And I'm like, no. It's just a character. It's not for real, buddy, right? So, right. I think it's funny. A lot of other people out there think it's pretty funny, midnight humor. And I'm going to keep doing it, right? So, yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but like I said, they're all getting it. I don't believe a word any of them are saying. Okay, let's say anything right now to get your vote, guys. Right? And like I said, I'm voting conservative because who do we really have is the conservatives, and hopefully I'm wrong, and I'm usually right. Okay, when it comes down to this shit, and like Rick said, it's only been conservative liberals their whole lives. Nobody in between. So we better start thinking of a third party here. We may have the conservatives, and if we do, it's going to be either a very long 48 months or a very short 48 months, depending if they get a landslide or it's a minority, right?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you.
Well, if you look at the NDP, Jagmeet is doing tailgate rallies. I mean,
he's doing what, wrestling?
Sorry, what?
Did Isabella just say he's doing tailgate wrestling?
no.
Oh. I got to see this.
Jagmeet is doing the tailgate rallies.
Yeah, he doesn't have much support out there, and it looks like they're going to lose a lot of ground, maybe even official party status.
I feel sorry for the NDP guys because Jack Layton, I really like Jack Layton, and I didn't mind Thomas Mulcair either. Okay, especially when he got mad. What they call him, Angry Tom or Mad Tom or something like that. Okay.
Well, we're at the top of the hour here, so can we just get a real quick final thought from everybody, and we'll wrap up for the evening. Leo, you can go first.
Well, Rick, one note. Can we
John, you go
invite
first.
Steve Rogers on?
Oh, you mean Lieutenant Steve Rogers? Yeah.
Yeah, the 51st day. I'd love for you to reach out to him, invite him on the show. I think he'd be an awesome guest.
Okay. Yeah, he's another guy who seems to want to liberate us from ourselves. So, yeah, I've reached out to him in the past, and I will again, John. I will. Thank you for mentioning that. And what's your final thought for tonight, John?
Well, I would just like to extend my condolences to people in Rome at the Vatican for the, death of Pope Francis. He was just in Alberta 3 years ago, at Hovima with our famous Operation Holy Father. So that'd be my final thought. And peace around the world for everybody worldwide.
Thank you, John. And Dragon, you can go next, since we usually leave the last thought to you. Not tonight. You have to go second.
Oh, well, I will start first with, next time that there's a rally around Laval, let me know, because Laval is part of Montreal. So this is why Carney was mostly speaking in French. because Laval is very French.
How did you find my
speaking.
translation?
Pretty good, actually. You were pretty on point with what he was saying about. I don't remember exactly what he was saying,
I
but
said,
you were
get
on
out
point.
of here, you orange orangutan, man. You get out of there. You don't come to Canada. We don't want you up here right now.
Dragon, give us a little Trump. Give us a little French Trump, Dragon.
Well, before I give you a Trump, I will say to you guys, well, you know what? It will be tremendously good if you guys start to learn how to do journalism just to get a little pointy exactitude of how the people speech, how the techniques is used against you, so you can be alerted of what propaganda is. So, yeah, I think Rick would agree with that. So, back to you guys.
Leo, what do you think? Help us wrap up tonight. What's your final thought?
My final thought is if you're in Laval and you're English and you're trying to buy food, you're shit out of luck. Okay, you better have a French translator, or you just better be eating poutine. Okay, and that's the only French word you know. That's all you're eating. Grow your gardens, guys. Get them in the ground. Okay, and try and capitalize on what you can grow. Don't rely on the government.
Okay, Isabel, the last word is yours.
Last word is mine. Well, it with all that's going on, you know, we got a great family here. We can keep our chins up. We're not separatists. We're not antagonists. We're just human beings, day to day. And we get our garbage picked up, Rick.
The truck comes by my house every Tuesday. As long as they do that, I will not rise up and join the insurrection. Just pick up my garbage Tuesday, and all is well. And with
I want also that Post Canada still, bring me my package at home. That would be just great too.
Yeah. Canada Post. And with that, everybody, I will see y'all back here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the
flip side.
Flip side.
Monkey see, monkey do. Vladimir Putin's making a fool out of you. Once a deal maker, now just a shouter. Used to shake hands, now it's all about power. You turn your back on your friends and your allies too. You betrayed the spirit of the red, white, and blue. Oh, orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand. Tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Dial it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. Donald Trump 1.0 had a plan. Now Donald J. Trump 2.0's a wrecking man. Used to make deals, now you just sneer. Ruling through fear, grinning ear to ear. Canada's not for sale, Greenland ain't yours. Gaza's not a playground, quit making wars. Bluffing and puffing with a wig on tight. Acting like a boss, but you lost the fight. The art of the deal, man, that ship sunk. Now it's all about rage and a nuclear funk. Orange orangutan man, swinging through the world with a heavy hand. Tearing up treaties, slapping on tariffs, throwing tantrums like a billionaire sheriff. Dial it down, don't stop it, man, you beast, you critter. Orange orangutan man. You're fired. No, you're just bananas.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.